Okay, in this video we're gonna add a time. We're gonna add the ability to add hours to our timetable in our final project. So uh, what I'm gonna do is, if you go to the schedule, there's a link here that you can click, and these are instructions on how to add to the form some text boxes and so on to add time. So I'm just going to follow these instructions here. I've created a new form application here that's very rudimentary. There's just the form that doesn't have anything on it yet, but I do have my three tables here: employee, project, and time. And I've actually put in the employee, I've put one record. In the project, I've put one record. And in the time, I've also put one set of hours here. So let's. I also have a database class already, and the database class only has the method for connecting to the database, and I have set up the connection string here by clicking on the database and looking at the connection string, which you can find right here, and that is what I copy into this string right here. Okay, let's get started. If we look at the first instruction, it says add a method to add a record to the timetable. Okay, and so this would be in the database.cs class, and you see it's just a method here which will insert a record into time, and these are the four fields and the values which are passed in as parameters. So let's just copy this, and go over here, and I'm just gonna paste it here. And if I've named everything correctly, that should paste right in. Okay. So next, we're gonna, on the main form, we're gonna add a combo box for selecting a project, and we're gonna bind it to the project table. We can refresh our memories on how that works. And there's not one. I don't have one for the employee, so I'm going to do the same thing for the employee. So let's go back here and go to the form, and I'm going to put a couple combo boxes here. Let's go to the toolbox, and I'm going to put a combo box here, and I might as well put a label on top. I'm going to put another combo box here, and I'm going to put a label on top of here, and label on top of here, and I'll just make this label say employees, choose employee, and this one can be choose project. Okay, and to bind these now to the tables, you go like this, click here, and there's this little arrow thing here, click, and use data bound items, click, and this thing pops up, and we select a data source. So we click down here, add project data source, and this thing pops up, and we want a database. We're going to look at a database. We're going to create a data set, and this is the name of our table, or our database here, and click next. And yeah, we can save this connection string, and some tables pop up here. We can open this up, and I am binding this to employee, so I just need the employee table, these two fields. Click finish, and then we can define what's displayed, and we want the employee name to be displayed, and when it's selected we want the employee ID to be the value that's passed. Okay, that's good. And let's do project. Click on the little arrow and use data bound items, and we're going to do this again. Add project data source, a new one from the database, data set. Same connection string is fine. And this pops up. Open up the tables. This time we want the project, and we can finish this. And we want the member display to be project name and the value to be project ID. Now, so when the program starts, we should see the two things filled up here. Let's see. Let's try it and see what happens. Is this going to work? I think this should work. Let's see. And this thing pops up, and we see here we will be able to select from a list. So that looks like that worked. So let's continue. Okay, for your project, you will already have a way of selecting employees, and if you finish the project part, also you'll have a list box for selecting the projects, and that's just fine. You know, whether it's a list box or a combo box, I'm just doing combo box, and I'm using this binding to the table just to show you how to do it. It's just another way to do it. It's pretty simple, but of course, if we have a program that runs and it updates the table, then these don't end up getting updated. These you actually would have to update them manually. So if you are going to put in a mechanism to update it manually, then you might as well just use that, you know, to begin with. But in this case, I just want to whip up something quick, and so the binding works fine. Okay, what's next? Okay, so we have these two things, and now we're going to add an hours label text box. So that would just be a toolbox. We can do, I want to put a label and hours in 0.0 format, and let's put a list. Let's put a text box here, and this can, you can enter your hours there. And we're going to put a thing for the date, and let's use a date picker here. Maybe we can put that here. Will that fit? No, it doesn't fit. Let me put this down here, and this over here, and will this fit here? Yes, that looks okay, I guess. Maybe make this smaller, so we go like that. Okay. And then finally, we need a submit button. So to say add, and so let's just put a button here. I don't know, in the middle maybe. Add. Add hours. Okay, so what's next? Add time, that's what we just did. And now we're going to add an event handler for the add time button. So let's just, I'm just going to copy this here and go back here, and I'm going to double click on this add hours, and right here I'm going to do a paste, and this is the event handler. And fortunately we follow the naming convention, the date time picker here. That is this date time picker 1, and so list box 1. Oh, these are list boxes. We have combo boxes, so let's change this to combo. And combo, is that what they're called? Let me check. Oh, I bet you it's lowercase c. And combo box 2. So project is second, and yeah, okay. And this is text box 1, I believe. Okay, that looks good. Let's see, what's next? Test by adding entry and checking time database table. Okay, let's see if it works. So let's run this thing. And this thing pops up, and there's only one person and one customer, but I'm going to add 3 hours on this day. Click. And we don't know what happened, but let's go look in the database. Let's go, let's stop it. And let's go to the Server Explorer. And look in time, show data, and refresh, and here's our second entry. Oh no, this is our second entry right here. So it is 2 days ago, 33 hours. Okay, that looks like that works. Okay, we just finished adding these controls here to the form, and we confirmed that it works. We just added this record here to the time table, and so now I'm going to go to the next step here, and I'm going to add a list view for displaying the time records. So on the main form, I'm going to first add a list view for displaying employee, project, hours, and date. So let's go here, and we can make this a little bigger, I guess. And let's add a list view. That would be this one here. Put that down here. And we're going to configure the columns now. We click here and we make sure that we change the view to details. And then we're going to edit the columns. And we're going to have 4 columns. 1, 2, 3, 4. The first one is going to be, I'm going to change the text on top for the first one. I'm going to change that text to employee. And I'm going to make that about maybe 160. That's going to be pretty big. I guess I can make that a little bit smaller because I have to have the project name in there. So let's click this and go to edit columns and go back here. I'm going to make this 120. And then I'm going to go to the next one, and I'm going to put the text above as saying project, and I'll make that 120 also. And the third one I'll have as the date. And I'll make that, I don't know, 100 maybe. And the fourth one can be the hours, and 60 is fine for that one. Okay, so let's see what this looks like. How wide does this have to be? Maybe I'll shrink up these names. I can just make this a little wider. There, that looks fine. Alright, what's next? So I've done that. So now I have to create a new class called time, and basically it's a container, because when we read the time table, we have to create a list of records. These are the records that come back from the table from the database query, but we don't have records in the software. So we create this container called an object, which contains exactly the fields that we would have for a record, and then we're able to create a list of these objects here, and that's how we store the list coming back from the database table, and that's how we and then we insert those into the list view. So let's create this class. So I'm just going to copy this part here, public class time. So I'm going to go over here and create a new class, add, I can go right down here to class, and I'm going to call it time, and I'm just going to make this public, and inside here I'll just do a paste, and so I've got a place for employee name, project name, hours, and date, and then this is how you get to it, and these are the properties, and so this is how you save to and store in these properties. Okay, what's next? We are going to add to the database class a method that reads the hours and returns a list of time objects. Okay, so here we defined a time object, and here we're going to use it. So we're going to create this is a method which actually returns a list of these time objects, and the list is a list of we create an internal working one called hours list. This is an instance of this list of time objects, and it's a new list, and here we loop and we load them up, and we load up this hours list, we add them, we create the object, we fill the object, and this is an object, a time object, which which is one of these, and we set the properties from reading the database table. When we do this read, these are the fields which come back, and it loads them up and adds them to this list. And when this loop is done, it returns the list. So let's add this method to our database class. Guess we don't need this here. Okay, I'll copy, and I'm going to go back over here and go to the database class, and I'll just add it down here. Paste, and it looks like that fits in pretty nicely. I don't see any red squiggly lines. Okay, what's next? We're going to add this to the form load event handler. So this is what actually creates a list, creates a new list, and loads up this database, or the list view. So I'm going to copy this and go back here and go to the form and double click anywhere here to open up the event handler, and here it is, and I can put it underneath here, do a paste. So this list view 2, it's just list view 1, I believe. And this is 1. Another thing is I noticed the date. I have the date before the hours, so I'm going to copy this and put it above the hours. So date and then hours. Okay, one other thing I'm going to do is after we've added this to the database. Okay, here, good. It actually reloads the form. Okay, so let's give this a try. Click Start. And this thing pops up, and look, it's filled in here. We can let's add another day. Let's add December 1st, and we can add whatever, 12 hours, add hours, and there it is. It adds it right in. Notice it displays, looks like in chronological order. Okay, so that's how we add a mechanism for adding hours to our project. Thanks for watching.